Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Josh, and in today's video I'm going to be doing something that a lot of camera YouTubers do this time of year, and that is of course a what's in my camera bag video. Now of course the difference between my videos and everyone else's videos is that I don't shoot with either Sony or Canon like everyone else on YouTube does. I'm actually an avid L-mount user, so I use the Panasonic full frame alpha cameras and of course L-mount glass to go with that. So yeah, that's where mine's gonna be a bit different. So if you're an L-mount shooter, you might quite like this video. But yeah, anyway, all the stuff that I talk about in this video will be linked in the description, so if you think it looks good or cool or could be useful to you, then just head down there and there'll be some links so you can go and check it out. So anyway, let's just get straight into it, starting with my camera bag. So, the camera bag that I've been using now for the last sort of 6 months to a year is the Incase DSLR Pro. It's a nice big bag. It's got all the compartments you can need, including a laptop sleeve part of it, and it's also got these two front compartments as well, which are great for keeping like spare batteries, you know, sort of like the small niggly bits that you normally forget about. And then also this sort of middle one here is actually really deep. So like, as you can see, I can literally fit in it, which is absolutely fantastic because it means you can put some like larger items in there, like let's say an RGB wand or something like that. And then of course it's got your back access for your camera gear, which is of course quite normal for camera bags nowadays. It just keeps it more secure and it just makes more sense in my opinion. And then also it does have this top zip here, so that means that you can actually access your camera and pull it out just from here, which is actually really nice. Okay, so getting into the stuff that actually matters, and of course that is the cameras and all the gear surrounding cameras and stuff. So, of course, my primary camera that I use all the time is the Panasonic S5, as I'm sure you probably could have guessed. I absolutely love this camera. It's absolutely fantastic and gets used pretty much on every single one of my corporate shoots, whether that's photo or video. There's just so much to love about this camera, especially for the price point. It shoots really nice video, the colors are absolutely amazing, and that full frame sensor does an absolutely fantastic job in low light, so I really have very minimal complaints about this camera. And then I'm normally keeping this camera in its cage like 99% of the time, and I actually have this camera in the Nitsa S5 cage. I do actually have the small rig cage as well for the S5, but I prefer the Nitsa one for some reason. It just feels a little bit more well built and durable and rugged, so I do really like that cage. But the only caveat to that is it's actually really hard to get hold of. For some reason on the Nitsa website you literally can't get it for love nor money, and I don't think it's actually listed on Amazon, which is really annoying. So therefore, if I was to recommend a cage to anyone, it would actually be the small rig cage, purely because you can actually buy them and get them, unlike the Nitsa cage, which is a little bit annoying. But luckily I was sent one out, so that's why I'm using that one. And then my second body that I use is the Panasonic S1. Absolutely love this camera. This thing is built like an absolute tank. I reckon if there was a nuclear war, the only two things that would be left behind would be cockroaches and every single S1 that was ever built. They're just so solid and durable. So I really like this camera, and in terms of image quality compared to the S5, they're pretty much identical. Of course there are some pros to this one, like for example it has a full-size HDMI port and the S5 only has the sort of micro HDMI port. So if I'm doing sort of like long form streaming or anything where I'm using that HDMI port a lot, I will actually use this and set this up on a tripod. And of course the EVF on this one is actually really nice as well. But yeah, I don't really have too many complaints with this camera, to be honest. I think that both of them paired together make a really, really good duo. So yeah, that's my second body. And then now let's get into lenses. So my lenses actually change a lot because, as I'm sure you guys are aware, I obviously do YouTube, which means that I do get to trial a lot of really nice lenses on a regular basis. So therefore my camera bag in terms of the lens selection changes depending on what I've got in my, you know, sort of hands at the time. But recently the lenses that I've been using the most are as follows. So I have been playing around with a lot of Sigma glass recently, and one of the lenses that I absolutely adore is the Sigma 85 f1.4. Now this lens is an absolutely insane thing, like literally it makes everything look so good. I can literally point this at a wheelie bin and it'll look cinematic and nice and lovely and crispy. So I absolutely adore this lens. It is so nice, and I definitely think it is worth it for the money if you are into portrait photography or you want to get the sort of details in your sort of video work. I would highly recommend this lens. And then another lens that I've been using a lot at the moment from Sigma is is their 24mm f2, and it's actually the lens that I'm filming on right now, and I've been using for literally all of my YouTube videos recently. It's just fantastic, a really nice sort of form factor, nice and small, and then of course stop sounds to f2, so you do get a nice amount of subject separation, and it's absolutely fantastic for every application that you need, you know, a sort of wide angle in. But yeah, it's great for YouTube videos, great for talking head stuff. We want to get a bit more of the background in. So yeah, this lens I'd recommend highly. And then obviously the lens that I bring with me no matter what I'm doing is, of course, the Panasonic 24-105. You guys know how much I love this lens. It was the first lens I actually got for my Panasonic S5 when I first invested into the L mount system, and this thing still to this day holds up. I mean, it's really, really sharp, it's extremely versatile, and the optical image stabilization on this thing is absolutely crazy for handheld filming and photography. And if I had to recommend any lens to someone that's just bought into the L mount system or just got an S5 and wants to upgrade from their kit lens, it would definitely be the 24-105. I mean, you can get so much done with this lens, so that's why it always stays in my camera bag, because it's just really good to have. So yeah, and then the other zoom lens that I use is the Sigma 28-70 f2.8. Not as wide as the 24-105, of course, but the 2.8 aperture actually becomes really useful in low light situations, so therefore this lens is actually really nice for me. Again, very well built, it's very lightweight, so it's absolutely fantastic for gimbal work. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this lens for anyone that wants a little bit more of a shallow depth of field. 2.8 is really nice on a full frame sensor, and this lens does definitely come in handy for a lot of photography work. So yeah, really like that one. So yeah, I think that's pretty much where it sort of stands for all the lenses for the time being. So moving on from the lenses to other stuff. So for some of my work, I am required to use a drone. And of course, there's a Mavic Pro and of course all the Hasselblad ones and stuff. And they're absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong, but the issue is you can't really fly them anywhere in this country, apart from, you know, sort of designated spaces and all that sort of stuff. There's so many restrictions against drones nowadays. So therefore, I've opted for the DJI Mini 2. It still shoots really nice 4K video, so I do really like this drone for that. It's really small, so it fits nicely in this camera bag, and I can carry all my photography gear with me and still have a drone with me, which is really nice. And yeah, so along with that, I also do have, where are they? I also have a set of ND filters to go along with the drone as well. But yeah, I would say that if you are looking to get a drone and you just want to get started and not spend a ridiculous amount of money on one because you know that it's not going to be something you use on a daily basis, then the Mini 2 is definitely my recommendation. I think it's around £400. It gets the job done. I use it on my commercial shoots a lot, and when you're, you know, splicing it in with the S5 and S1 footage, realistically it sits there quite nicely, and it's very rarely that I use just a drone for a video shoot, so therefore it's only being used as sort of like little sort of bits of spice in a video. And yeah, I think that it holds up just fine, so I do really like this drone. So yeah, then moving on to the monitors. Now I'm spoiled, I have quite a few monitors, like external monitors I mean, for my cameras. The one that I use a lot on gimbals and stuff is the Desview R6, which is this one. Is it the R6? Yeah, it is. The Desview R6. Now, it's just a small 5.5-inch monitor, so it's really good for handheld stuff, you know, putting it on a cage and running around with it, and also really good for when I'm mounting it to my gimbal. Aside from that one though, I do also use the Desview R7, which is a 7-inch monitor that I actually use for all my YouTube videos. That one normally lives on a tripod, so, you know, because it's 7-inch, it's a little bit too big for handheld stuff, but I find that if you're setting up, let's say, an angle for a talking heads video or for YouTube and stuff, then the R7 is an absolutely fantastic choice. And of course, I do actually own the Atomos Ninja V, and I use that a lot for my bigger shoots. Of course, I do really like to shoot in ProRes RAW and also ProRes LT actually. But I find that sometimes I don't need that quality, especially when most of the stuff that I do just gets compressed and put onto Facebook and Instagram and stuff. So therefore, sometimes it's a little bit overkill for me. But yeah, so sometimes I do output RAW, 6K RAW on the Panasonic S5. I normally use ProRes RAW for like the sort of bigger shoots where, you know, like the budget's a little bit higher and it needs to be, you know, like top draw quality. And then I do also really like using ProRes LT with my Atomos Ninja V as well, purely because those ProRes files run so smoothly on literally any computer. Like even on my late 2013 MacBook Pro, the ProRes LT codec runs really nicely on that. So I find it's a really nice balance between file size and also like ease of use when you get into editing and post-production. But yeah, currently my Atomos Ninja V is actually getting calibrated over at Atomos, so that's why it's not in my bag and that's why I've not pulled it out. But yeah, so I do use that a lot. Okay, so just to get on with all the stuff that's in this compartment, then I'll get into the more nitty-gritty smaller stuff. I also use the set of 7-in-1 Freewell ND filters that I made a video about. These guys, these are absolutely fantastic because you get a set of like sort of CPLs, you get different stops of light reduction for your NDs. You know, like they double up quite a lot and they're actually really, really good in terms of color accuracy. And then of course, for all the lenses that I use, always bring step up rings because I mean, I think these ones are 77mm filter thread size. And of course, you know, the 2870 is I think 67. So therefore you're going to need an adapter to put those larger filters onto those lenses, and also the 24mm I'm shooting on right now. I also use this little Manfrotto mini tripod. I do normally bring, you know, a tripod with me to my video shoots. Not really for my, oh no, sometimes I do bring it for my photo shoots actually, but mainly for my video shoots. But I just find it's really handy to have a little Manfrotto tripod so I can either set up a camera somewhere where, you know, let's say potentially I want to get a B cam or even BTS shots. It's really handy for, or if I ever go out and I want to vlog something, and I like to attach my S5 to this, and then it gives me a little bit more reach when I am doing those shots. So yeah, this is really handy to have. And then what's the last thing in here? Oh yeah, can't forget this. You always need one of these things to get the dust off your sensor. Really handy to have. You can pick them up for really cheap on Amazon, so that's also really nice to have. And then the final thing in this compartment is the DJI Osmo Pocket. Now, I got this thing about maybe sort of 3 years ago now, like when they first came out, and this is the original one, not the Mark II or what they're calling now, the DJI Osmo Pocket 2. I normally use this to film BTS or set up on a tripod and do time-lapse and stuff. Of course, this thing does shoot 4K 50p, which is really nice. And yeah, it's just like a really great little camera to have just at a pinch if you want to get anything like that. Okay, so onto media. So, of course, this is something that's overlooked quite a lot in these videos, but I don't want to overlook it because it's really important. As we all know, the S5 has one at UHS-2 slot and one at UHS-1 card slot. So for the UHS-2 slot, I use pro grade V60 cards, 128GB ones. They've got a decent read and write speed, and they've never failed on me, so I would recommend them. And they're also not crazy expensive either. So yeah, they're really good cards to use. And I also use the SanDisk Extreme and Extreme Pro cards. I know that my S1 does actually have a CFast or XQD slot. I don't actually have any of these cards. They're quite expensive, and to be honest, I don't use the S1 enough to warrant investing in a new card type. Normally, I just use the UHS-2 slot on this one, and it works absolutely fine. I've never really had a SD card corrupt on me with these cameras, you know, touch wood, it's never happened. So yeah, I'm normally quite comfortable doing that. So yeah, that's those cards. And then of course, you need more media with you. You always need more media. Let's get these ones out. So moving on to the other stuff, I'm gonna put the bag down here actually for now. So if I'm recording on the Atomos, of course, I need to have an SSD attached to it, and you can get the little Angel Bird ones that fit in nicely, but they're really expensive for what they are. So instead I use the Crucial MX500 1TB cards inside the Atomos caddies. These are really cheap hard drives. They're not too much anymore, you know, for like a SATA SSD, they're really well priced, and they've got a really decent read and write speed. So I've got a couple of these. I mean, these are only two. I normally bring two of me on each shoot, but I've actually got about 4 or 5 of these, and they are what I use for the Atomos to record onto those. And then also I have one of these Samsung T5 portable SSDs. I actually have, this one is the 2TB version. So I actually bring this with me for all shoots, just in case I need to offload media, just for sort of backup and stuff. I mean, these things are crazy in terms of their read and write speed, and they probably are one of the best sort of SSDs you can get for the money on the market, and of course come highly recommended by pretty much every single camera YouTuber, if you like. So yeah, recommend this highly if you are someone that needs something that's fast and very portable. I'm gonna show it to you here. I also have some power banks. I'll leave a link to the power banks I use in the description. I've got one which is by, what's that really, Anker. I've got one that's by Anker, and then one that's by this company called Charmast. Yeah, I bring a couple of these with me, of course, for charging bits on the go if there's not a mains outlet, and of course, just for powering stuff if I need that extra bit of juice. So they're really good to have. I'm not really going to cover audio too much in this video because all my audio gear is actually XLR stuff, and I've actually got a separate case for my audio stuff, and I can go into more detail about the audio stuff in another video. But since it's not actually in my physical camera bag, it's actually in its own sort of Pelly flight case, I felt like it's sort of cheating to talk about that, just as it would be cheating to talk about lighting and stuff. So yeah, that's for another video. But yeah, so that is pretty much all the gear that I use on my shoots. I absolutely love the setup I've got at the moment. I don't think I'll be changing it for a while. The Panasonic cameras for me are absolutely amazing in terms of their build quality, their features, the image quality, and the footage is also really, really easy to grade, I find, especially compared to my old Sony cameras that I used to use. And they're just built so well. So I don't want to switch away from this too soon. And then, as I said, lens-wise, that changes quite often. But to be honest with you, I'm a massive fan of any L-mount lens, to be honest. I think that, you know, all the lenses that Sigma and Panasonic make are extremely high quality. You can't really go wrong, if I'm being honest. It just depends on what you're shooting and what focal length you need the most. So yeah, but I mean, that is pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions about any of this sort of stuff, then please let me know in the comments. Like I said, in the description, I'll leave a link to all the stuff that I spoke about in this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think I've got too much of a crazy setup compared to other people. I like to keep it quite simple, but yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it somewhat useful, entertaining, or interesting. And if you did, then please consider subscribing to the channel because it helps me out massively. And I do make a lot of content here surrounding the Panasonic S5, the L1 ecosystem, and all that sort of good stuff. So if that's the sort of stuff that you're into, then this channel will definitely be for you. Yeah, thank you again for watching, and hopefully I shall see you in the next one. Thank you.